I'd like to introduce Hanz Rauch, our first keynote. Hanz is head of digital product at Woolworths and responsible for defining and driving the online roadmap with stakeholders and leaders across the business. He has over 7 years of experience in e-commerce and digital product management. He's currently part of the team that is driving the digital transformation at Woolworths. Welcome, Hanz.
Hello, everyone. And thank you very much for that introduction, Adam. So as said, my name is Hanz. I just go by Hanz. I'm made of digital product at Woolies. This is very new at Woolies to have a role like that. And then also product management is quite new. So I'm going to tell you a bit about Woolies just now. First off, just thanks to Kinetic Events for inviting me to present this first session at Ecom Africa. I must be honest, initially I didn't realize I'll be going first, and especially after a legend like Kino Kamis. It's amazing how some people can speak out of the fist and just inspire. So thank you very much, Kino. And then also congratulations to the Kinetic team, specifically Pooja and Adam, who I work with for putting this event together. I'm going to share my screen because I'm not an orator like Kino. I need some slides to tell a story. So just give me a second to bring that up. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. And here we go. So today I'll be telling you a bit more about what is happening at Woolies. At the very high level, of course, I can't give too much away. If you don't know Woolworths in South Africa and East Africa, we're a retailer that sells food, fashion, homeware, and beauty. So our food retail is predominantly shopped by the upper end of the market. Mainly due to how we have positioned ourselves, but also because our products are sometimes marginally more expensive, but also of extremely high quality, having won many awards. Our fashion, beauty, and home targets a much wider audience, from the iconic country road brands to our brands that crosses a couple of segments. And of course, we sell online in South Africa, otherwise I wouldn't be here today. Please keep in mind that Woolies is a massive organization and that these perspectives are my own. And from my vantage point. Cool. So after that caveat, let's dive right in. First off, let's set some context. So online has exploded in the last couple of years. You guys know this, and Kino said it as well. Arthur Goldstruck, in his annual analysis of the online space, showed that online share of retail has doubled over 2 years. Obviously, COVID played a major role in making this happen. But most customers indicate that they will continue shopping online, having started during the lockdowns. Importantly, the 2020 growth was 66%. So yes, that sounds amazing. But take note of the physical retailers. And from here on, I'll talk about omnichannel retailers. So both TFG and Woolworths reported growth of 132%. Kino touched on Checkers 60/60. And we know that Pick n Pay is also playing in the market, growing their online share. And all of the big retailers are getting into this market. And these omni-channel players are coming, and they're coming hard. So what? So what, you may say? They're just playing catch up, right? So yes, that might be the context, but for them, there's a bit more to it. So what is happening is that customers are demanding something unprecedented from these retailers. So they need to scale online rapidly. And I can speak from a Woolworths experience. It's not like we can just open the floodgates. You need so many things to be in place to scale like that. Customers are also demanding a better and more integrated experience. So Kino touched a bit on this. You know, obviously you need to know what customers want, but there are a lot of things that we know are coming. There are a lot of things that are happening in the market, and us competitors know that the others are playing around with certain things. So competition is hot, and the economic market in South Africa is not great. So it's not growing as fast as we like. So we need to compete with each other. Let's take a look at some of these challenges that these businesses are facing. So big corporates, they have business models built over decades. You can imagine turning the Titanic. Business functions are in separate units, because of how the business has shaped itself. And today they're optimizing for their functions. And of course, they're aligned to corporate strategy, but they operate slightly in a siloed way. Innovation triggers massive projects, and these projects require input from operational teams, and these teams are often way too busy with existing processes, or they're too busy with one other big project. So these big projects also take very long. You can imagine that because it's so difficult to bring about change, you need to spend so much time planning for that change. By the time you're actually delivering, the market could have shifted 3 times or 100 times. Small opportunities often have to wait, or you need to elevate it to a very high level to actually get attention. So what are the options to overcome these challenges? So there are many approaches out there in the market, and from what I can see in my immediate environment, there are generally 2 approaches emerging. And if any of the other retailers are on here, yes, I just don't have the insights for your organization, and you see that I've called out 2 organizations here. This is really my outside view. So the one approach is the innovation hub approach, or labs approach. So TFG and ShopRite are examples that I would put in that category. And then at Woolworths, there's the transformation approach. And when I say transformation, I'm talking about the internal transformation process. So it doesn't only speak to what you deliver, but it also talks to how you deliver it. And Woolworths is obviously following that approach. So the innovation hub approach creates new functions outside of an existing organization. The advantages are that they are unshackled from the business process constraints, and the teams are dedicated to innovation. The disadvantages, however, may come when, if you need to in the future, reintegrate these functions into the business. It could also create this culture of an us versus them, which is not great for organizations. And this is also a little bit more costly. If you guys have seen some of the campaigns that these companies are running, there's a lot of money going into it. And I won't lie, it's not cheap to do what we're doing either. The transformation approach takes the business as it is and slowly transforms the business from within. So the advantages are that the implementation is direct and you leverage off operational experts. Everyone participates, and this can be great for company culture. The challenges, however, is that change is extremely difficult, especially in an old company, and that some projects will take a little bit longer. Doesn't have to, but it probably will. So just personally, I don't have a strong view about either of these approaches. I think it really comes to what the business culture is, and what you're trying to achieve, and what you have and what you don't have, and what your strategies are. The key message is that change needs to happen and delivery needs to be faster. So at Woolworths, transformation is happening at multiple levels, and in some business units. Online plays a role across the business at the execution level, and has been selected as one of the focal points due to the current market demands. So that's why I'm talking at Ecom Africa. And the online teams typically plays a little bit closer to Agile because of our history. You must keep in mind, and this is another caveat, that online is much bigger than the view I'll give you today. We are only talking about the teams that work on customer-facing digital experiences. And this is the team that's adopted this product operating model. So let's break it down. Let's just start with what is product. So this is a particularly challenging topic in retail, especially in a private label business like Woolworths, where physical goods are designed or sourced to sell customers. As I said earlier, at Woolies, we are extremely proud of the quality products we deliver to customers. So naming a team, a product team, is particularly difficult. So product in a technical sense, and this is according to the Association of International Product and Marketing Managers, is a tangible good or an intangible service. So at Woolworths, digital product refers to the platforms or services that allows customers to interact with Woolworths digitally. So what are the key roles in digital product? We start off with product management. So the product manager works more externally and strategically with stakeholders to shape a roadmap. And then with various teams, including a solutions architect and a UX designer, to discover these initiatives. When it comes to execution, we have a product owner working with a scrum master, UI designer, and sometimes a business analyst, to define the deliverables, and then they work with the technical team members to execute this in a sprint backlog. We also have roles of a delivery manager and a release manager that plays a crucial role in this execution aspect. So what does a typical product team look like? And now I'm talking about that team that executes. So this is just a visual of what I spoke about just now. And here you can again see all of these roles working together. A very key call out is that this team is cross-functional. So what you might find in older businesses is that IT sits separate from the business, and there are good reasons for this, so that the systems can remain stable, so that IT can make the right decisions. But in this case, it's a cross-functional team, and you've got people who would be considered business people, like a product manager or designer, sitting with the technical people. So the important thing about this working together is that, as an example, if a developer is not sure of something, they can ask the product owner, designer, or business analyst to immediately clarify. So this takes the burden of defining everything to the nth degree away as well. Similarly, when a designer is designing an experience, they can readily ask a developer whether something is even feasible, and they can bounce ideas off of each other. And there are plenty of these examples. The other call out is that this team is stable. So obviously, right now, our teams, a lot of them are quite new, but they will work together and grow together over a long period of time. So they will, over time, deliver faster and to better quality, and they will also become experts in their domain. So this is very important. You have to have at least a longer term vision for these teams. It's not just about spinning people up to deliver a project. So what does the product leadership structure look like? Because there needs to be some type of hierarchy. At the top, we've got a team comprised of the head of product, a program manager, and head of IT. And in our case, our head of IT scope is a little bit wider than just the digital product teams. Working with them, we have managers of UX and design, architecture, and technical delivery, and there are a couple of other pieces. And I don't have an image to show you this, but effectively, these people are like chapter owners, and they manage the expertise of these people working in teams together. And they are also the managers of those people. Then we've got product management structure. So this is the product manager, the UX designer, and solution architect. And at the execution level, we have a product team. So now we've covered some basics, but I think that for those people who have worked in product or have worked in a big organization, there's a little bit more. So yay, we know what a product team looks like, but you guessed it, it's not that simple. Immediately you'll realize that you can't have one team engaging with all stakeholders. And I've mentioned that online engages very widely. These teams also need to execute projects immediately. It's not like you mobilize them to just come and sit and learn and casually get up to speed. So when can they discover new ideas? And I've already given an answer to that part, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail to explain the thinking and the way that you need to articulate this to your leadership. And based on the business ambition, we need many of these teams. So it's not like they can just arrive and you say, yeah, you go there, you go there, you go there. So let's take a deep breath and look a little bit deeper. So first off, let's organize the teams. There are a couple of strategies out there, the favorite ones being based on features and customer types. The ones to be avoided like the plague are the systems or business function approaches. So these are recipes for unintegrated businesses, which means that the customer is probably going to drop somewhere in between these. So Woolworths has opted for the features-based approach and aligning them to the customer journey. Just a shout out to M&S. They shared their way of doing things a couple of years ago, and we have seen over time that that's quite a good approach. So what we've done is we've got a team that looks after what we call arrive and browse. This looks after customers. They come and they arrive through marketing or organically through search, or they come from a store and know about our product. And then they arrive on the site or app and they need to discover products or recipes or content. Behind the scenes, there's a little bit of AI and technical things happening. So in here, we want the ability to recommend the right products to customer, spoke a little bit about listening to customers. Obviously, there's some nice AI out there that can do that for you. And then search is also a very, very hot topic. It's not something that you just casually assume will just work. So we've got a team for that. And then when it comes to checkout and delivery, some people think checkout is massive. It's actually the steps in checkout that's massive. So obviously there's the cart page, and then there's the delivery page, which is it's quite complex, especially if you have multiple options. And when it comes to delivery, there are people and other teams in the organization that need to fulfill that order. So this team integrates with those teams. Then payments and fraud prevention. Payment is hellishly complex. And in Woolworths, it's a heavily integrated piece. So it warrants having its own team. And then the app team, because the app is a platform on its own, it's a whole experience. You don't really want to break that up too much. And then customer service is something that underpins all of this. So once you've done this breakup, you'll see a couple of cool things emerging. So first off, you realize that the first part of the customer journey is actually for all customers. Now, these are customers who are not necessarily going to shop online. They are the people who are going to shop in store. The latter part of the customer journey is only online customers. So what this means is that looking at these teams, they likely have separate stakeholders. So I spoke about the multi-stakeholder problem. So this is great. Immediately you cut down on engagement and improve focus by 4 times. And why 4 times? So this is because obviously the stakeholders don't need to engage with 2 broad teams, and also these teams don't need to integrate with 2 broad teams as much. When you look even deeper, you'll see that the peer systems are different. So I've called out a couple here, but in each area there are slight nuances to the systems that need to be integrated with. And this is very important for the delivery teams. So that means they don't need to engage with as many teams in the back end. So by focusing on the customer journey first and focusing on the features that they interact with, we actually arrive at something that is quite optimal or quite efficient. We don't need to integrate so widely. So there are some other challenges, and I spoke about this earlier. So the teams cannot do discover of major initiatives and deliver what they need to deliver at the same time. So in our world, we thought this would not show up immediately. We thought that, yeah, the product teams can do discovery, but it came upon us very quick and faster than we expected. So when you think through the process, you'll see why we need a product management team. The product manager takes the organization's vision and makes it their own, or their teams or their area. Then they will build a strategy that meets the business strategy and aligns that vision to the business. From here, they can start prioritizing roadmap items and then work with stakeholders and peer teams to discover the high-level solution for an initiative. With the UX designer, they will find the best customer experience, and with the solution architect, they will determine what is architecturally feasible and viable. These features can then be handed over to the product team to refine and execute. And you see there that I've got this delivery aspect. So what we have now is, you can see that there's a product management team above, and then you've got the product teams below. What happens when we scale? So the great thing about scaling, you see, there's a lot of demand in this specific area, is that you don't necessarily have to go and scale more product teams. So the strategy is kept intact, and you've got a new delivery team that needs to deliver to these extra needs. It is tricky to split these teams apart, but it is better to do it if there's actually something keeping it all together. So there's a little bit of something missing, and the technical people on the call, I hope there are a couple of them, will probably feel that there's something missing. So I'm going to touch on one of those things. So we need a team that's focused on creating the platform that will keep the lights on, and they must also create the platform that helps us work. So this is the platform team. So in this team, you've got DevOps. They build the platform that we work on. We've got system analysts. They support the solution architects. So you can see them as these people waiting in the wing to do whatever the solution architects need them to help on. Then you've got a release manager, and this release manager ensures smooth releases. You've got your support team, and it's great that they sit so close to a platform architect that can actually help them figure out where things sit. And this team does level 1 and 2 support. So you don't want everything to just go to the product team. You want at least someone who can maybe go and fix something without needing to go and develop something else. Also keep in mind that the release cadence is not that fast. So you want the support team that can maybe just fix a data problem. We also have an IT PM that does cross IT project delivery. So in this case, that IT PM is focusing on payments. Okay, so this is now what you see the picture with the platform team as part of the model. So that was a quick run through our Agile product model. What is crucial is that this is only part of the picture. So let's look at aspects that require this to be a success in an organization. First off, you need a roadmap. You can't just start from scratch. And this likely starts outside of your product teams. Yes, the product teams will have their own ideas. They will know what the strategy is and they'll figure out ways to address that strategy. But there's a lot that needs to happen from the outside. And all of this starts with a clear strategy from leadership. Based on the nature of these businesses, there would also be broad leadership alignment and engagement to make sure that these priorities are aligned. This is something that's also part of the transformation process. And something that I can say is happening at Woolworths is that these leaders are really working hard to make sure that they have single aligned priorities and that they merge what they need to do so that people are all aligned to a single execution path. Next, you need people. So you need your human resource or capital teams to help these teams grow. So obviously that's people, and that's also growing the people and their skills. You really need change management. And this is something that from my background, I never realized how important this is. And these change managers bring these changes to the people and they help make these changes their own. You also need to bring stakeholders on the journey. So that's also part of what the change managers help you do. And you don't just flip the switch one day and now you have Agile teams. It is a constant grind. So in terms of partners, so you need partners. If you think that an organization knows everything about Agile or has experience or has a broad view of what's best practice, you are wrong. So you need partners that have had experience in doing these things, and these partners will help you with your roadmap. They'll give an outside view on some of the things that you perceive as problems. They'll help create some ideas. You also need partners to mobilize quickly. So if you agree, okay, I'm going to go now, how do you fill those roles? But what is important is you need to be clear on your objective from day one. Do you want to build your own teams, or do you want to let that partner run with it? And I'm not saying one way or the other is right, but you need to be clear on which one you want to, or which path you want to pursue. In our case, we want to own our own destiny, so we want our own teams. But we see the partners playing crucial roles throughout the piece. So next up, process. I've told you about what our internal process is, and I've given a very light touch there. The deeper you go, even in the Agile process, the more work there is. But also because you're in an existing organization, there are many processes to align to. Some of those processes, you will need leadership to help those processes adapt so they can move faster. But you definitely cannot ignore them. And I speak from experience. There are a couple of processes that I ignored, and it just ends up slowing you down later because you can't get past them, especially in a publicly traded company. You need to do the right thing. Execution is not limited to these teams. So I spoke about payments earlier. For our payments team, there's a whole chain of teams that need to make sure that it actually works. So you need to align with those other teams to deliver. You can't just hope that it will just all work out. You need to work with them closely to make sure that we are all aligned to what we're going to deliver. And again, you need to help use your partners to help shape the way you work from their outside perspectives. So there are many tricks that other organizations have figured out how to get through this. Finally, but definitely not to be ignored, is you need the platforms to execute fast. I spoke about the platform team, but there are things within that team that we need. So you'll start with things like DevOps practice and continuous integration and delivery. But this is expensive and takes time in a big organization, even just for an isolated team. What's more is that these teams that you are dependent on, the ones that are outside of your teams, they will not have this when you have it. So you need to plan carefully when your work impacts those other teams. This is especially important for us when it comes to payments. And finally, part of the service to customers is scalable, stable, fast experiences. So yes, product manager has some words to say about that. They have some ideas, but in the end, IT knows where the problems are, and you have to give them the space to do their thing and prioritize the right stuff to get the customer experience there. Okay, cool. So in conclusion, short summary, omni-channel retailers are growing in online, and they're growing faster than the pure players, but that's not so important. They have to, and they are changing their operating models, and then you've seen a bit of one. They need partners, and I hope a lot of those partners are on this call to help on all fronts. And this is the way you do things, but obviously also the things that you need to implement. And whether you're outside or inside these organizations, you need to appreciate and respect the complexity. You're not going to be successful if you're not respectful of the people and the things they do. And you need to appreciate the complexity. I can speak from experience. I arrived at Woolies from a nice agile environment, and there is a lot of complexity when you join. But a lot of that complexity is warranted, and some of it needs to change. And the way you change that is not by just shouting that people are not working fast. You really need to work with them to be more efficient. Cool. Thank you, guys. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just a couple of people I want to call out, so you guys can look at the slide. You see it's a massive team involved in making this change happen. Thanks, Adam.